Hey everyone, D here, and welcome to our premiere episode of Fans of S.H.I.E.L.D. We're going to be here each week, each Friday night. We're going to dive into the episode. We're going to talk about what happens, what we want to happen, and kind of, all things S.H.I.E.L.D. We're going to try and make this a big, evolving discussion, just basically to celebrate. We're here for the last season, and we want to be sure that we get to have fun with it, make the most out of this last time. With me tonight, I have from a dawn of ice and fire, a man who knows so much about Westeros, he himself could be the three-eyed raven, Mr. Don Willie.
Hey, what's going on, Darrin? What's going on, everybody in the chat world? I'm so happy to be here talking about one of my favorite shows, and gotta be in the top 3 Marvel shows of all time, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. And we're here for the last mission.
Yeah. Hey, top-rated show on Rotten Tomatoes of Marvel TV, so everybody kind of agrees with you on that. Now, what you may notice is we are missing a third person. Rob Stone from Smirking Gun Reviews is scheduled to join us here with our Fans of S.H.I.E.L.D. reviews. Unfortunately, the Chronicoms seems to have gotten him and taken out his technology. Unfortunately, his laptop's been damaged. We have tried a few workarounds to get him on. But until we were able to get things fixed, it's just going to be Don and I for a while. So let's keep our fingers crossed. We can get Rob back with us and really make this a full discussion show. Basically just sort of, this is going to be an evolving program. We're going to kind of see what works, which directions things go in. I definitely want to get some feedback from the chat. Welcome any questions that come in and just sort of, again, make this a big celebration for our final season. So let's actually maybe start off with a little background. Don, how long have you been watching Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.? What got you into it? What grabs you? Describe your fandom of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Okay, I started from episode 1, and I'll be honest with you. First season, mixed bag. And for the most part, for people who came into it later or who haven't watched it, I usually tell them start in around episode, 15, 16. When is it that oh man, Bill Paxton, when is it that he shows up? Is that like
right around the train ride? Right after that, I think is once Daisy gets shot. That's when Bill Paxton comes in, and I agree. That's really when things start to kick off and move into gear.
Yeah, but I've every week faithfully ever since. I actually have not missed an episode, and it actually amazed me. Like I would say from middle of season 2 on, how they kept on getting better. It was like every time you thought, okay, there's no way they could possibly top this episode, and then they find a way, and I'm just like, wow, you guys, like these people, you can tell that they actually love what they're doing as far as the writing staff. They know the lore as far as S.H.I.E.L.D. They know what they can play around with as far as the MCU and what they can reference and how they can use it to enhance the show. And even though it's gotten to the point now where it's definitely different than the main MCU, it still stands on its own. And I think it stands on its own in a way where it's like, you know what? It doesn't bother me that it might not be connected now.
Actually, that's good because that was something I wanted to ask is, do you think that, in the earlier seasons, obviously they were trying to tie in a bit more into the films. Up to the first season, we had that big reveal with Winter Soldier, and I think that was probably one of the best tie-ins they had since really sort of changed the world. But, did you like the tie-ins? Did you really think that once they decided to sort of step away from connecting with that, did the show find a better groove for itself?
Yeah, I think once they had no choice, kind of, other than to stand on their own, I think they, and especially once they started bringing in like the 3 arcs per year.
Oh yeah,
I think that was probably the most brilliant thing that I've seen a TV show do in a long time. Is them deciding, okay, we're gonna have three separate storylines, but somehow at the end it still all wraps up into one. And I think the best year for me was probably season 5, because that was Ghost Rider, the LMD,
Season
and
4.
Season 4.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
Season
right.
4.
Season
5
5
was Sarge.
Yes.
Sorry. 5 was the future where we met Deke, and then 6 was Sarge last year.
Right.
So yeah.
So season 4 then, because he had Ghost Rider, the LMD saga, and then we got the framework.
Yeah.
And they were able to bring it all the way around again. And oh man, I'm kind of tight that they didn't get the chance to get the Ghost Rider series though.
Oh, yeah, for sure. That would have been a great tie-in, and I loved Robbie Ray as the different Ghost Rider as opposed to the Johnny Blaze that we had in the films and such. I think that was a good direction for them.
Yeah, because I love his car. I love the car.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's a good set of wheels.
Mm-hmm.
Me myself, honestly, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is why I started doing reviews. I really enjoyed the show. I was studying a lot more on films and presentation and the intricacies and stuff. But there was so much, every episode, there was so much I wanted to discuss and dive in. And, my friends, I've got some that watch the show, but not a whole lot. So the internet really kind of gave me a chance to reach out and connect with other fans in a much more direct way. So Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. really something close to my heart. Again, the origination of D's reviews can be found right here in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Looks like we got someone, Frank Cardinal, joining in with the chat. Hey, Frank, thank you so much for jumping in. Very excited for you to be here with us. If you do have questions and so on, and to anybody that joins in with the chat, please go ahead, submit them. I will try and find some times throughout the discussion to address those. Again, we want this to be a celebration of fandom, so got to have you guys involved with it. All right, so let's kind of get into the episode itself. Our season 7 premiere, we're doing time travel, baby. We're going back to the early, in fact, pre-days of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. And I got to say, personally, I love how they did the title card in the old movie styling on that.
Yes.
Really living up the flavor. And of course, I love the contrast we have between, especially in the open scene, between the Chronicoms and the history, how they're just very direct with all of their speech.
Yeah, they
don't mince words about it at all.
They're just like, look, we came here to do a job, and we don't care about what ripples it causes through time. We're here to do the job that gets us the result that we want. Period. Point blank.
So I thought that was a great introduction into the scene, and I love how they get us right back. I mean, connect directly in with the end of season 6, with kicking things off with the waking up of our PhiLMD model, which I don't know what I mean. I found that to be a really emotional scene, seeing Phil sort of get that 2-year download in 10 seconds. Really kind of an astounding job by Clark Gregg. Are you excited? What do you think? I mean, Phil's kind of got this, I don't want to be an LMD, but I'm kind of, getting into things. Where do you think he's going to go with this? He had that big talk with Mac afterwards about, I'll reassess this later.
It's funny. I was watching your review earlier today, and I was thinking about something, right? These guys are going to be going throughout time, right? Mm-hmm. I have a theory. It's probably going to be wrong, but imagine, if you will.
Okay.
2012. Battle of New York.
Oh.
You see where I'm going with this?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Keep going. Elaborate. That's something exactly I want to sort of tie in. So go ahead.
We have Loki versus Phil Coulson. Coulson's got a big gun. Hey, we made this. No one knows what it does. Stab through the heart. Oh my God. Blast Loki. Oh, so that's what it does. And then we cut back into the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and we find out that wasn't Phil Coulson. That was the LMD, and he's been swapped out.
So you think they might swap him out before the whole Tahiti, the Tahiti thing, and actually have the LMD do its job and give up its life to save Phil in that sense? I like that. Well, see, because that's something I did want to kind of dive into about maybe where they are going with this. And the ideas of we haven't started out this episode is going back in time. We find out the Chronicoms want to stop S.H.I.E.L.D. from ever being founded. They think it's FDR they're going after, but instead it's Freddie Malik, father of Gideon Malik, who is going to be one of the founding members, obviously, of Hydra. So instead, to save S.H.I.E.L.D., you've got to save Hydra. And I'm wondering if, kind of like the pods kind of like the pods that they did in season 4, if they're going to break up the season into chunks, like we'll have the 30s, and then we know that Agent Carter is going to show up at some point, and then
so they got to go to the either 40s or 50s,
right, where they're charging from the SSR to the actual foundation of S.H.I.E.L.D. Do you think maybe they'll be jumping through time up a couple of decades at specific moments where we can have great cameos from characters, we can have little Easter eggs showing up, and sort of giving us those ideas?
I mean, I think it's very possible. And then, because you got to think about it like this, right?
Mm-hmm.
ABC or Disney or somebody, said this show must stay on the air, period, point blank. Because remember, season 5 was supposedly going to be their last season.
Right.
The last thing that they show with May and Phil on the beach and Zephyr flying over, they said they filmed that episode as if it was going to be the last episode of S.H.I.E.L.D. ever.
Right.
And now here we are 2 seasons later because someone said, nope, you got to do 2 more. And they told them 2 more seasons. Why 2 more seasons? I think that, there's got to be something that they have planned that's going to be spectacular to send us off with, because you can't have just them doing these small things, and not pay off into anything, right? Sure. Them hopping through time has to mean something. They're bringing back Agent Carter. Hopefully they'll get to wrap up her story, because, also another shame that we never got another season of Agent Carter.
I completely agree.
Yeah, and who knows what else? I mean, remember, there have been other actors who said they wanted to do cameos on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., and they held this off for a year. This was already, for those.
Oh yeah, they shot this all last year. It was the perfect thing for ABC in this condition. They've got a whole season of a show in the can and ready to go.
Right. So they already had this done, and they held it off for a year. I don't think you hold something off for a year unless you have something spectacular that just like, no, we wanted you to wait. We wanted you to forget about the fact that it's been a year, so this way we can just come back and boom. Yeah. Gotcha.
Well, not to try and get too spoilery, but the final episode 13 of this season, and of course of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., as far as we know for the moment, is directed by Jed Whedon, who obviously did the pilot and has done many of the episodes throughout, including 415, one of the best episodes, Self-Control. And he has said that we're going to have MCU tie-ins, that this is a big thing. They're going out with a bang. So, yeah, I agree with you on that. I think that they are leading into something kind of large and making this and monumental. Kristen Deaton, welcome to the chat. Throws in, she heard that the cast mentioned the 80s is one of the decades. Lots of hair and hairspray is what Chloe Bennett said on Instagram. So I think, yeah, we might be doing decade jumping, a few episodes here, a few episodes there. Kind of have fun with that. I'm looking forward to it. Now, before we go any further, since we kind of started this off on Phil, on our LMD Phil, Frank Cardinal in the chat asked the question. It is definitely something I wanted to get into, and I wanted to get your opinion on this, Don. one of the lines that Phil says when he is getting his quick download is he says, "Take the deal, you're dead anyway." Obviously referring to the deal with Ghost Rider. Now, from what we knew, and this is something I went in with my review, what we knew is that, or what we were told is that the deal with Ghost Rider, him coming in, burned out the Kree healing infusion, and that's what caused his heart to start to die off in the whole kind of arc through season 5, and his eventual death. What this sounds like to me is that something else had happened. If he's already dead, what does that mean? Did that degradation heart? Are they saying that the Kree, infusion is only short term, which seems counter to some of the previous lore that we've had, especially in season 5, where the Kree had used their blood to heal the humans and kind of keep things going while they were working on them. So I don't know. Did you get it? Did that sort of grab you at all, or what do you think that he might have meant by that?
Honestly speaking, I was confused. Hearing him say that, it was like, "Take the deal, you're dead anyway." Yeah, I mean, maybe it might be something where, maybe the spirit of vengeance showed him something from the future.
Okay.
It could have been something where, they showed him about, what happened to him at the end, and maybe the things with Sarge and Pachakutik and maybe even the whole thing with the LMD.
Okay.
Possibly the spirit of vengeance showed him that, and at first he might have been like, "Oh man, this is a little too much," kind of freaking out, and it's just like, "Dude, he showed you the future. Take the deal. You're dead anyway."
Right. Okay. I think that's a good possible. I am hoping that wasn't a throwaway line, that's something that's going to stick in, because it's stuck in my head. You remember it. Frank, obviously it's the first question he wanted to ask in here with this. So I am hoping that this is something that's going to maybe lead into the return of real Phil, whether it be in through the Avengers connection or through the Tahiti one. Though also, as Frank mentions, if they swap them out from the Avengers, then that might affect Daisy's transformation, the whole Tahiti bit, and that sort of whole process. So, time travel's always a little funky, isn't it?
Yeah. Oh man.
Also, welcome Lily Mack in with the chat. Glad to have you here with us. Okay, so let's kind of let's move into the whole time travel bit, because a lot of time travel obviously going on with this season, and time travel has been around in the Marvel universe since the beginning. Obviously, my first part I read into it, first comic I read for Marvel, Fantastic Four, introduction of Doctor Doom, where they send the Fantastic Four back in time and Thing becomes Blackbeard. That's a great introduction. But we've had it in the MCU, had various forms. Here we've got Deke kind of giving us the rules that we're going to go through by this season. The ripples, not waves. The stream theory. As long as we don't make any big changes, time's going to sort of work out, which I think is nice. It certainly gives them a little breadth of stuff that they can do and little alterations without worrying, doing the whole necessary Back to the Future bit. Where if make one tiny change and one of them can disappear.
No butterfly effects here, hopefully.
Ripples, not waves, as Matt continues to go.
Oh, yeah.
And one of my favorite parts, again, speaking of kind of the Doc Brown, is I loved in the Zephyr, they had the drawer that had like all of the history cache and the different things that they could get. I'm like, wow, if we were doing time travel, what do you think would be an important, what would be the necessary in your time travel kit? Don, what would you need in that?
What would I need in my time travel kit? Wow.
Yeah, I mean, what is essential?
I mean, besides money, a passport. I would say a passport. Look, I think Mac, and I was going to talk about this earlier. Mac is the guy who he speaks for guys like me, and for you know what? Mac actually speaks for a lot of black people in America because he's the guy that knows certain periods of time might not be the best time to be black in America. Even in New York in the 1930s, you know.
Yeah,
So
cosmopolitan city, not quite as cosmopolitan as we might hope that it would be.
yeah, so yeah, I need a passport because apparently it's all good to go to Paris at almost any time. Right? So, passport to go to Paris.
That's good, but you'd have to have again. But like the money thing, you'd kind of have to have it like broken down into decades. Passports are only good for a certain amount of time. But yeah, I think that's probably a good thing. You got to have your ID, got to have your money. I like Deke getting so excited about how cheap clothes were in the Great Depression. You got all those for $13.
Having no idea. It's like, yeah, if he tried to start up a tech company back in the 1930s and then found out what a computer would cost if he made one, just like, wait, what do you mean my salary as a CEO is like $400,000 and yet somehow translates to like $50 million in today's money?
Mm-hmm.
Well,
as Lily mentioned about Mac in his suit in 1931, I have to kind of go ahead and agree. Mac looks good. Actually, Mac looks good in almost anything. Henry Simmons is a fine-looking gentleman, and he wears a suit really, really well.
Listen, that's why I'm growing out the beard. I'm trying to get his look.
Yeah, and actually, speaking of Deke, he's he got a little bit of the ire or focus of Mac on this. I guess he has sort of set his reputation as trying to establish patents earlier in time and jump on technology.
Oh, God. Yeah. I mean, listen, I think he's learned his lesson.
Sure.
And
I love how he's responding. Everyone's just like, Deke, stealing a truck? Oh, there's two of us. Why is everyone looking at me? Though Great Depression, people struggling for food, that is kind of his bag right there. So he's kind of in his element right now.
Yeah, he said he fits in the most in the 1930s more than he did in the 2000s.
Perfect.
Wow.
Yeah. Well, and the one thing they definitely see having to deal with a lot, as you mentioned before, the racism and sexism of the past. They don't shy away from dealing with those kind of head on and immediately. They don't dwell on it. They don't make it like the central focus of the issue.
Mm-hmm.
But they do continually bring that up. We've got the Chronicon talking smack to Daisy.
Which I love.
The cop, it was the first cop and then the Chronicons, right?
Right, yeah, with the cop was like, yeah, it's a little lady doing like you couldn't find yourself a husband.
They just have problems. All their ribs break when they talk back at me.
Oh, man. She's like, yeah, just like, you wouldn't want a little lady like me smacking around a guy like you in front of people like them. Awesome. I love that. I love that comeback. So,
perfect. Oh, and Frank in the chat did ask, is Freddie Gideon's brother or maybe father? I think Freddie is Gideon's dad.
Yeah.
I think Gideon is the son, and so he is the foundation. So we're going to dive in a little bit more. In fact, let's kind of bring that up right now, because since the mission is, we're finding out, in order to save S.H.I.E.L.D., we have to save Hydra. I found that kind of an interesting direction. I mean, one, obviously, yeah, I've got my my S.H.I.E.L.D. Hydra brand shirt right there as well. Because we're 1931. This is the early days of the Nazi Party. And we, of course, originally we were set that Hydra was the scientific offshoot of the Nazis. We find out later on in season 3 that it's an ancient, and came long beforehand. Why do you think that saving Hydra at this point is what's going to save S.H.I.E.L.D.? They infiltrate S.H.I.E.L.D. for sure. Or do you think that if you kill Hydra, then there's no reason for the super soldier program for the SSR, for Captain America? Where do you? How do you think that they want to connect that particular thread? as the Chronicoms put it.
Well, yeah, and I was just about to tap into that whole thread idea too. Is, you pull on. I mean, it's the whole thing of you pull on a thread and sweater, and the whole thing falls apart. And it's like, hey, if you take out this kind of, I guess, version of Hydra where they aren't that big of a collective yet, it's like right now they probably aren't part of the Nazi party yet. They're probably just forming as a collective. They infiltrate everything and then start to take it over. So right now we have to find out who is it that Hydra might be trying to infiltrate even before they go to the Nazis and then later into SSR and SHIELD. So right now we have this whole thing where they're thinking Freddie Malik is the key for right now, because I guess without him and indoctrinating his son and bringing other people in, you don't have the organization that spreads. So I guess because Gideon Malik was got so high up, I think that it's kind of the whole thing of killing off Sarah Connor before John Connor is born.
Yeah, exactly. So by stopping Hydra at this point, then they would stop the need for the SSR to be going after them. And of course, with no SSR, then there becomes no eventual SHIELD. Okay, I mean, that seems like a good thread. But the next question is they obviously wanted to wait until this handoff happened, and the handoff being a nice little collection of mystery green vials. Now, this is 1931, so this is not super soldier serum. That doesn't come for another decade or so. Do we think that maybe this is an early version of this? Is this something that's being played with previously? Maybe something that eventually led to Red Skull? Or could this be something different? Obviously, we've got something important. You have any speculation on our mystery green fluid?
Well, I was thinking at first, Red Skull, but I'm like, it might be a little early for that. And then, there's also the fact of there's Hive, right? Because Hive was kind of a Hydra thing a little bit, where didn't they kind of worship?
Yeah, Hive was the original god that Hydra
Right.
was founded in order to return. So maybe something to connect with getting him.
Yeah, because listen, remember they also kind of infiltrated NASA, and that's how they were able to send the astronauts through the monolith and all that. I'm thinking that somehow this is going to be one of those threads that kind of ties everything together, starting from season 1 all the way up until now. And so this is going to have something to do with, at least I'm speculating, it's going to have something to do with Hive, the monoliths, and the ancient order of Hydra, and how they're able to stick their tendrils into everything to be able to take over the world.
So this is kind of, you think maybe this is kind of the critical spot. Yeah, Lily Mack in the chat brings this up. Hydra infiltrated the Nazis. They were formed before 1931 earlier on. Obviously Hydra has been around for a long time, and it's run through families. So perhaps Freddie here is that careful point, the sort of flinge where maybe Hydra is small and is about ready to grow back up, and it comes through this liquid, and it comes to the connection with Freddie that the Maliks were able to sort of reestablish themselves.
Right.
Again, it's all speculation at this point. We're getting small things, but yes, they don't do anything for no reason. Everything plays into parts. So let's see. They referred to it as the future, so maybe a super serum prototype from Frank. Yes, and Kristen notices was very viscous, was very thick. Is that something you put in? Is it a concentrated form? So yeah, these are all good ideas. I think these are just something we're gonna be diving into, but maybe not that long. If we're jumping time frames, The one thing that was great about season 4 in the pods is it made each kind of story only like 8 episodes, 8, 9 episodes. So everything had to be told very quickly. Everything was very efficient in the storytelling. So I'm hoping that we're kind of running into something like that as well, as they go story, 2, 3 episodes, boom, move to the next point, story, move to the next point, story. And so we kind of keep that momentum going. I think that's really where Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. has found its strength, is in that kind of efficiency in storytelling.
Yeah. So, I mean, listen, 13 episodes, you figure you break them down into, 4, 4, 4, and then you got one left over. Boom, there's your 13 episodes. You wrap it up in the last one. You've done your 3 separate arcs, maybe 3 different time periods, and for each time period has an arc. And there you go.
Excellent. Let's see. There's a couple of small little character stuff that I wanted to touch on here. One, Gemma, who obviously has been separated from Fitz. She doesn't say for how long, just says a long time, months, years. How long do you think she's been away from Fitz?
I'm going to say years.
That's what I was thinking.
Because based on the way that things happen at the end of the last episode of last season, she goes off with Enoch, and then when she shows back up again, it's one of those things where it's like, oh, this is different. It's like oh man, I'm trying to remember what movie it is where, or is it Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure? Or
could be which part?
Oh man. Oh, you know what? Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, or is it The Bogus Journey, where they said like they went away and they came back and they're like, oh, we spent like 6 months intense guitar training in the mountains or something like that, and it's like, now they look different. They they grew their hair out, and they actually do know how to play, and become the wild stallions that save the future with their music. That's what that reminded me of. So I'm like, for me, seeing Gemma like that, she didn't look physically older, but she looked like, for one, her facial expressions, and then 2, the style of clothing and the hair. I was like, oh, this isn't the Gemma that we're used to. Forget about, the kind of
much harder.
Yeah, forget about the cardigan sweaters, and the kind of the kind of, not leotard, I guess like the stretch pants or whatever.
Yeah.
Opening
season 2 there, yes.
Yeah, no, this is not the person who looks like they, are just fresh out of college, or out of like their doctoral program or something like that. No, this person is way experienced. She's
Agreed.
been through it. She's like, all right, I'm here to do the thing. No nonsense. All right, let's get this going.
Well, I really have always appreciated Gemma's kind of arc of getting harder. I mean, obviously starting out, both she and Fitz were so naive and so optimistic. And we've seen, kind of some personal prejudices came up when Daisy's whole first Inhuman arc was happening, and Gemma wasn't necessarily connecting with that, seeing that as a possible contagion from a biology standpoint. One of my favorite lines of hers is actually, I think, from season 2, which I love to indicate her evolution, is when she says, I'm not a very good liar, but I'm getting better. When she was dealing with Hydra. And I've always remembered that as she's kind of gotten that harder, more mature, as Frank mentions in the chat here, definitely, kind of persona. But what jumped out at me is her very vicious attitude towards the Chronicom. When she's about to put that thing in, and she's asked, is that a data port? No. And it just stabs him in the back of the head.
Brutal. I mean, but he's a robot. He's trying to, possibly wipe out humanity by wiping out Shield. So, hey, listen, all's fair in love and war, and this is war, baby.
Oh, it is. Alex, the dude in the chat. Hey, Alex. Always nice to see you. Thanks for stopping in. Yeah, it was something. It's like, there's a story there. And obviously we had seen last season when she was with Fitz, the Chronicoms had sort of tortured them and did the whole internal invasion thing. We got, honestly, one of the best episodes of last season, I think, was that with her and Fitz. So, yeah, there's definitely reasons why she has this. I love that they've added this really hard edge to Gemma to show that time passage and the maturity and just how much has happened with her.
Oh, yeah.
Another thing someone has happened to is May. Out for most of the episode, though the surgery seemed to be a little lower than I remember her stab point. I thought she was stabbed through the chest like Phil, and they seem to be going for the stomach. But it's been a while. It's been a while since I saw last season's finale, so I could be wrong with that.
Could have been one of those, upward strikes.
Sure, good point. But of course, there's kind of two things with May. One, because of the repair for that type of damage, to me, that's always the hope that at some point they'll go back and swap LMD and Phil out Tahiti and be able to use that tech to fix his heart. And then we'll end the series with the real Phil Coulson back and, life is wonderful. But more interesting was, I referred to it as Bat May. I guess Spider-Man, someone else had a reference to, and that's probably a little bit more, let's stay with Marvel. But that final shot of her as Enoch notices that she is missing, and she's ninja-like, all up in the corner in the darkness with a very intense May look in her face. Does she not recognize the Zephyr, or is this just recovery? Does she think she might still be in the dark dimension where she was killed? Or, I know she came through, but then she went back. And, like maybe she's still kind of stuck with Pachakutik and all of that. Why do we have Crazy May or Ninja May up there?
I don't know. And I was just like, wow, okay. This is more than interesting at this point because, for right now, we have this whole thing with her. We don't know what her mind state is at all. All we know is she's hiding on the Zephyr, and there are very few people on the Zephyr at this point. And you know what? I think we're gonna have a couple of red shirts taken out by May. Just because.
Because you got to show May kicking ass, because that is what she does.
Yeah, it's the cavalry.
It's definitely a great way to leave it because, it gives us such a great image and leaves us with nothing but questions like, what's going on and what damage is she going to do? What's even more so is what's going to happen when she sees Phil? Is she going to think it's Sarge again? Is she going to freak out and attack? How's Phil going to react seeing May? I don't think he has the full Tahiti memories, so I'm not sure how much he remembers about their time together.
Right.
Yeah. So
right, because his last it was the last scan from the framework, so
which is why they had to put the 2-year download into him, which had season 5 and season 6 effectively.
Wait, but he knows that he died.
I'm assuming that that's just the data that they gave, and he would also. Well, I'm assuming that is part of the information download in order to catch him up with what's happened in the 2 years. They had to let him know that he died, and that it's not him, because they also had to do the whole Sarge thing, so he would be up to date with that, and thus what's going on with the Chronicoms and destruction of their planet and why they want to take out S.H.I.E.L.D. It's a lot of info. That's 2 years, man. He dealt with it really well. Luke in the chat. See, Lily says May's obviously been through a lot lately, or she might have been. Sorry, I think Lily was referring to Gemma there, who, yes, I agree, has been through a lot. Frank says May looked feral, like her healing wasn't done yet and she was somewhat mentally damaged. That is not a bad statement. It certainly, Gemma says that it would take her a couple of weeks to recover, and that was later that afternoon that she's up and out. So yeah, I think that could be a good thing. She hasn't totally reconnected with what's going on. There could be some further recovery that needs to happen. Lily may look terrifying and angry. Yes. Angry May. Nobody wants to encounter Angry May.
Angry May is not a good May. Oh no, not
No.
good May at all. Oof.
So So overall, what are you hoping to get out of this season? What you're looking for? I mean, obviously we've got some nice little Easter eggs and show up. I love seeing Patton Oswalt show up as his kind of grandfather of the family there, getting to play, a similar character, but a little tweaked. We know that we'll run into Carter and so on, and we're going to do some time things. But like I said, overall, what are you looking forward to for this season? What is it that you want out of your final Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. adventure?
I want more Phil Coulson fanboy moments. Phil Coulson, LMD fanboying over meeting FDR.
That was awesome. I know he didn't want to be an LMD, but he got to meet and shake hands with FDR. That is pretty cool.
So I can imagine him meeting Agent Carter for the first time. He's gonna
fanboy out like, man.
He's like, oh my god, and all those adventures you had with Captain America. He's like, me and Steve actually became good friends in the future.
Oh, I know. You can't. So many things you can't say and you want to say. I think that'll be kind of the fun part.
Oh man, yeah,
adventures.
Yeah. Let's see here. More of Mac with his poignant social commentary. Oh man.
Honestly, that was, I think, one of my favorite parts of him in season 5 is his commentary on the world around and the whole rubble. He was in Foreign LMD when he's like, haven't you guys seen any of these movies? You're making robots. This always ends bad.
But it's funny though, because even when they went to the future, right? They go to the future and they want to split up. And Mac is like, haven't you seen any horror movies? You know what happens when he splits up, and you always know who's the first one to die.
I know. Oh God, I love that moment. It's so meta on so many levels. It's perfect.
Yeah. So more of that from Mac. I can't wait to see more of that. Oh wait, we didn't talk about Yo-Yo.
Oh yeah. Well, by all means, sir, dive into Ms. Rodriguez here.
Oh my God, Yo-Yo is back, and she has real arms. Well, as close to real as possible. Oh my God, we're hopefully we will get to see Yo-Yo and Mac back again. The happy couple. We need them back.
Yeah.
I mean, think about it, right? This whole show can end up with couples. You got May and Phil, Mac and Yo-Yo, Fitz and Simmons, and Deke and Quake.
I think you may have some counters on that, but okay.
I'm just saying, man, it's all right there. It's
Deke has to feel it. I'm not going to discount that. Always hoping for a return of Robbie Reyes. I liked Quake and Robbie fighting together. In fact, what I want to see more is I love just the hint we had of the double superhero fight of Phil LMD and Quake fighting together. I mean, that's got to be kind of a hero moment for Phil right there too.
Yeah, it was like daddy daughter, take your daughter to work day.
Take your daughter to work day and kick butt.
Yeah. Awesome. I mean, we need more of that. We need more of Phil and Quake doing their thing because Phil and Daisy are the heart of the show. I mean, because
they really are.
You cannot have Agents of Shield without any one of those two characters. You take any one of those two characters off of the show, and you might as well say forget about it. It wouldn't be the same. Now, mind you, I still miss my guy Ward. Yeah, but but obviously the show has been able to move forward without him. You cannot do anything without Daisy and without Phil. It won't work.
I think that's a fair observation. I'll agree with that. Let's see. I'll jump into mine in just a second, but I do want to jump to the chat here. Frank's got a few ideas of things that he wants to see. Coulson's dad. Ooh, that would be interesting. A young Nick Fury would totally go with that. Oh, yeah, that would be awesome. In fact, especially if they went back, if they do the 80s, like you said, Lily was mentioning, or even in the 90s, that would be a perfect time for that. Not sure if they want to do that de-aging. They recast? Anyway, I love the idea, though. I love the idea. Let's see. Maybe even Dum Dum Dugan. We could totally see Dum Dum Dugan again. And Trip's grandfather. Trip. I miss Trip.
Yeah.
But that would be so awesome. That would be a hell of a thing to see if we get those types of Easter eggs.
Yeah, now the thing I'm wondering, was Trip's grandfather supposed to be oh man, I forgot his name from
he was one of the Howling Commandos, yeah.
That was supposed to be his grandfather.
I believe so, yeah. Because they mentioned, I don't know if they had given his name specifically, but they did mention that he was in the Howling Commandos. So I'm making the same connection you are there. Unfortunately, I can't remember his name off the top of my head.
I remember the actor's name. I know the actor's name is Derek Luke. Why can't I remember the character though? That's the bad part.
If only we had access to some sort of compendium of stored cloud information that we could access. Maybe after the show. Let's see. Also, mention with Yo-Yo, the robotic arms on her. Would that affect Mac's view of her? I don't know. I think Mac can see past that. But I do want to mention that again. We just sort of touched on it. That scene where Yo-Yo got the new arms and she's just sort of feeling and touching and reacting. To me, those are some of the best scenes that have no dialogue and are just complete reaction. You just get to live with the character and go through what they're doing. I thought it was just a small but really beautifully done scene. Lily would also like to see Mac again. Would like to see Ward again. So yeah, you're not alone in that. I would love to see. The Trip's grandfather idea. I think that's the one that kind of gets me the most right now. I think that would be a really cool thing, just to sort of for the team to reconnect with Trip in that sort of little manner.
Yeah, that would be awesome.
Stick a little note inside of his father's little bag of stuff for Trip to find later on. That'd be funny. Now, as for what I'd like to see, I don't know. I mean, it's the same thing. I would like to see those little moments in history. I would love to have kind of the bigger MCU tied in. We do get a brief, preview of what to see this season, and we're seeing Chronicoms blowing up the Triskelion, and we're seeing space shots and ships coming out of warp or wormholes or whatever the terminology they're using with that, jump points. That could be the tides. That Jenna says that Fitz calls the moments where they can travel, those windows where they can travel through points in time. So yeah, I want him to end it big. I want him to really do a love letter for the show, for the seasons, to pay back, make those connections in a way that a lot of us had wanted, and they can do it in these small, back ways of traveling through time. And yeah, ultimately, I've said it many times, and I will mention one more time. I want real Phil back. I love PhiLMD. I love every indication. Clark Gregg, he's an amazing actor, and he plays the character really well. But we all watched the show for Phil, and then we fell in love with Daisy and May and everyone else. It bothered me when they decided to end the show by killing him, like, you know, his death sort of returns, and this was sort of like an extra addendum. I don't know. I like the happy ending. To me, a perfect LMD job of him to go back to Tahiti right at the end, swap out. The LMD gets buried in Phil's casket. Phil jumps forward back, and then they can use the same technology to fix May that they can use to fix Phil. And we end the show going, all right, and now we're going to help with the Avengers. Or, you know, they can use even an open-ended tie-in of just, all right, and now we're reestablishing S.H.I.E.L.D. And then they can use it or not. Let's see, have them run into Bobby and Hunter. Yes, please. I miss Bobby. I miss Hunter. I'm glad we got to see Hunter. But yeah.
Yeah. And the fact that they never got this show, man. Come on.
Oh. Well, I think Lily hits it right here. Disney Plus needs this show badly. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Put
Definitely
this on, connect with large AMC, even just have Phil take over Nick Fury's job. That would be a hell of a thing to bring back in. It's easily explainable with the small little shows, and even the jumps, the Loki show, you could bring them in through that. I mean, there's so many dimensions jump, and that's again what I'm hoping for the big ending is they can finally take their show and plug it back into the MCU at the end. Whether they really explore it or not, I don't know. I think a Quake show would be awesome. Secret Warriors, I think, would be a great show to go in. Certainly, Disney and Marvel could use the diversity of this cast. Again, 2 major Asian actresses, African-American actor, you know, yeah, there's a white guy in front there, but everybody else behind him. So, I don't know. Those are my hopes. And as for all of you in the chat and watching this in the archives, what are your hopes? What are your dreams? There's going to be a comment section below. You can throw your comments down, your hopes and thoughts. And hopefully by next week, then we will get into that. Because again, every Friday night, 7 p.m. Pacific, 10 p.m. Eastern, we're going to be here. It's going to be myself, going to be Mr. Don Willie. And when Rob is finally able to escape from the grasp of the Chronicoms, he will be joining us as well. And I really appreciate all of you, Lily, Frank, Kristen, Alex, everybody from jumping in with the chat here, sharing your thoughts. I am so excited to get to share this show with you guys. Like I said, this is why we're here. And as far as we know, it's the last run. So let's make it as awesome as we can. So, Don, thank you so much for joining me in this week. Tell the folks where they can find you.
You can find me on Twitter at iDonWillie. I'll be back on YouTube sooner or later. I'm trying to figure out what I'm going to do there. But in the meantime, you can catch me here Friday nights with Darrin, and hopefully we'll get our other guy here soon. You know, out of the abyss. And yeah, we will be discussing Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., the final mission. Maybe.
Excellent. And you know, Frank, you throw something up, jumping on with us sometime. I might, and if I can see how to do this right, I want to have at least one of these episodes really be a fan episode. StreamYard, who is powering our stream here, we can get lots of people onto the camera at once. I would love to be able to send out a link and have all of you guys jump into the chat at some point, ask your questions, be part of it. Like I said, make this a big fan event. So look forward to that coming as soon as I figure out all the mechanics of this, because I'm learning as we go. We're going to set something up with that. So thank you guys so much. You can always catch me here Friday nights. And of course, right after Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., I'm doing my regular reviews. At some point, I will review the season finale of Walking Dead whenever it comes out. I don't know what we'll do after that, but we're definitely going to be here for the rest of S.H.I.E.L.D. So hope that you guys will join us as well. Thank you so much. Thanks, Don, for being here. And we'll catch you guys next week. Bye-bye.
Hell Hydra.